Hello everybody, it's Matt here again, and today we have an unboxing video because I'm finally replacing this receiver. This is the Sony STR DH190 and we will be replacing it with the Yamaha A-S501. We'll get into more details about that in a little bit when we unbox it. The reason I'm replacing this, I've had it for years and it's always been a capable receiver, particularly at its sub $200 price point. So I haven't had too many complaints sort of as far as what you get for your money is concerned, but there's always been a few things that irk me about it. I mean, there's no doubt that the Yamaha integrated amp should sound better. It's got great reviews. You know, it's more than double the price, frankly, of this at retail. So hopefully it does sound better. But there's a few things about the Sony that they've always irked me a little bit. So first of all is the subwoofer situation. So I have a subwoofer down here. Don't worry, it's on an isolation pad, a vibration isolation pad, so it doesn't matter that it's in the cabinet. But I have to run the speaker cables out to it, and then run more cables out from that to the speakers, because the receiver doesn't have a dedicated subwoofer out, whereas the new Yamaha amp will do. So that's nice. Secondly, is the number of sort of play, record, or input-output jacks that the receiver has. So I have both a cassette deck and a mini disc deck here, which really both need what would have in the past been kind of like a tape input output. This only has one, the Yamaha has two. So I've had to use a switch box to switch between the two. It's more cables, it's another piece of equipment up here, so it'll be nice to kind of strip that down. Also, although the Sony is advertised as having high-res audio, it's even got a little high-res audio sticker down here. I've always had a bit of an issue with that because it doesn't have coax or optical inputs. So it does have Bluetooth, but you can't use Bluetooth for high-res audio. You're going to get CD quality max out of it. So it's always sort of irked me a little bit. I thought, man, how good could it sound if it could actually take high-res audio? Now, you could go and buy an external DAC and you know, run cables from that, like RCA cables, into a line in, I suppose, on the receiver. But then that's the DAC doing the work when it comes to the high-res audio. The receiver's not doing anything at all except amplify it. So there's that too. And like I said, I do think the integrated amp will sound better. Now, I bought a few goodies for this, which I think one of them is going to turn out to be a little bit superfluous and not needed. But we've got our subwoofer cable here. This uses Amphenol, and it's a WBC branded cable. I've used these throughout my setup here. I really like these cables a lot. Now, I also bought this. This is a Yamaha Bluetooth receiver, which I'm not sure I'm going to need, as it turns out. Now, the integrated amp doesn't have Bluetooth built in. So when I bought it, I thought, well, I'll pick this up too. But then I also picked this up, which we'll do a separate video about, which is I think it's pronounced Weem, the Weem Mini, which is most definitely a high-res audio player because it has a built-in DAC. Although, at least I think it does, but you can use the DAC in the Yamaha, okay? So that's fine, but so I can run like an optical cable from this into the new amplifier. But I have a feeling, I don't see where it says on the box, but I feel like I read this somewhere in a review or something, that this also supports Bluetooth. So this may be completely redundant and not needed, which is a little bit unfortunate because it actually wasn't that cheap, but never mind, it is what it is. We'll do, like I said, a separate video for this later on. But okay, so let's start unboxing this this new amplifier. All right, here it is. Here it is. Let me grab my trusty scissors right here and take a look. So yeah, you can see on the box, Yamaha A-S501. Now, this is a whole line of integrated amps from Yamaha that are very highly regarded, at least from what I've read, so I hope it's true. The sort of baby in the family is actually not this one, it's the AS301. The 501 uses, they're all sort of similar, a lot of similar components, but not identical. The 501, I think, it has a higher output for one thing, in terms of like number of watts, but it also, from what I read, is just built a little bit better. It's much better when it comes to the power, so I don't know, we'll see how it works out, but we're going to open this and take a look. Now, I think if I raise this, we can probably have a much better look at what's inside the box. Yeah, there we go, that's going to be better. Okay. So, it's all very neatly packed. We've got our, instructions and that sort of thing right here. Hopefully we don't need these, but you never know. We've got batteries for the remote. Panasonic brand, okay. The remote control is in here. It's got tape on it. Let's take the tape off. Actually, let's take this whole piece out right here. And then we can take the remote out. Okay, there's the remote control. Looks alright. So I do actually quite like the remote on the Sony, but the remote control would not be a reason to keep it. Let's have a look here. See if I can remove this piece. Can I? Yeah. Okay. Now, of course, I ordered the black version. I think this is available in silver too. The next one up from this would be the S701, and that definitely is available in silver. So maybe somebody can correct me. I think the 501 might be as well. Let's see, we need to turn this around and lift it out. Okay. Move the box away. Oh, there we go. Got all this anti-static wrapping on here, which is nice. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Beauty. Now, I'll turn this around so we can get a better look at it. Let me move this stuff out the way. Alright. We can get a better look at the front. Let me shuffle over here. There we go. So, there's our Yamaha A-S501. Very simple, right? Very retro layout, and I like that. I think it looks neat. It's really heavy. I think it's quite a bit heavier than that Sony receiver. And I'll show you the back so we can see kind of the inputs and everything. Okay, there we go. And there's the back, so plenty of inputs. It also does have coax and digital ins as well, which will be nice for our Weem player right there. Also has a dedicated subwoofer out, so nice. Yeah, this thing weighs a ton, man. It really does. Okay, well, what I'm going to need to do is get this set up, which is going to take a little bit of time. Right now I've got the Sony receiver on the bottom. I have a feeling this is going to run hotter, so I may want to adjust things and put this at the top, which I know is kind of recommended. I know that. But yeah, it's going to take a little bit of work to get that all sorted out. I got to move some stuff. Got to move some stuff around first. So stay tuned. I'm going to get this hooked up, and it's probably going to take me a little bit of time. But yeah, stay tuned, and we will continue this review. All right, we are set up. There she is. There she is. It took me a little bit of time, mostly because everything's all connected back there, and I had to remove the switch box and recable in the subwoofer, and this thing's heavy as well, so it's all a little bit cumbersome trying to manage it. So I've kept it at the bottom of the stack. I'll see how that goes. So far, I'm not feeling heat coming out, and I think probably because I'm in quite a small room here, so there's only so much volume I can give this thing before it would become unpleasant. Which maybe means this was overkill. Maybe I should have got the 301, I don't know, but the 501 seemed like it got slightly better reviews, and people were saying, if you can get the 501, get it, because, well, if you get the 701, get it, but 501 versus the 301 Yamaha, get the 501. It's got more power in reserve, so if you do ever kind of upgrade your speakers or whatever, then you're sort of already sorted out, you know. Let's see, what else did I hook up? I hooked up the WIM Mini audio streamer using the optical in, which this Yamaha has, so that was very convenient. There's a neat little feature here. Here's the remote. I've got this all hooked up. If you turn the volume up and down, it physically moves this. This is motorized. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, probably. If I move this closer, right? I'm going to move this way up here. Nope. There we go. And get this right up, all up in its business. Okay, and I'm going to use the remote like this. Watch. Cool, huh? I thought that was a neat little little touch right there. Now, how does it sound? It sounds great. I've only given it a very brief test so far. I admittedly haven't tested the vinyl, except for a tiny. I did like a 1-minute snippet, but I haven't tested it extensively. But I did test the CD. I've tested the streaming audio, tested a cassette very quickly, tested the mini disc, and sounds great so far. I can't crank up the CD too high. I mean, interestingly, of course, now the receiver had a display which would tell you the volume out of, I don't know what it went up to, like 40 or something, right? But this doesn't. This is more like a traditional old school integrated receiver, right? So it's very much reminiscent of something you might have gotten in the 70s or very early 80s. Now, you know, you have to kind of rely on your ears and rely on where this is positioned, where the little notch is positioned. But I don't mind. I'm okay with that. You know, it's okay. I forgot to mention as well that I'm running 8-ohm speakers, which is fine for this. There's a low-high setting on the back. High is recommended usually by Yamaha, by the sounds of it, and high is recommended for 8-ohm speakers, so that's not a problem. You can have 2 pairs of speakers. It has A/B speaker selection here, which doesn't apply to me, but just a little bit of info. Now, there is a loudness button, which I need to play around with, and I've heard interesting things about this, where you're supposed to crank this up to kind of what would be a nice, fairly high but comfortable listening volume, and then adjust the loudness to compensate. And the loudness is supposed to gradually adjust the bass and treble, depending then on how loud you have your volume set, to make it more in tune with human hearing at certain volumes. So I'm going to play around with that. It sounds interesting. I've never kind of had anything like that on an amp or anything. One thing to know, it's a minor detail. This front is nice. It's metal, you know, metal plated. These buttons are plastic though. I just feel like they could have made these metal. They've made the input knob and the volume knob sort of kind of a fake brushed metal look, but they are really just plastic. Just a little thing. It's not a major problem. Not major at all, actually. I just figured that it would have been a nice touch when you've got all this metal going on if they'd made these metal switches as well, but yeah, that's okay. I do like the fact that the back, I forgot to break this up earlier too, that it has banana plug connectors for the speakers, which the previous Sony did not. So there's a bit of an issue actually, because, you know, I've been using this, I forget what gauge speaker wire this is, 12? It might be 14. I don't remember. It's reasonably thick. And this barely fit in those little spring clips on the Sony. Like, I had to really kind of jiggle these around and pinch them in, and but of course with banana plugs like those, no such issue. Just plug them right in and you're good to go. So I got these left over because these previously went to the subwoofer, but they don't need to anymore. We're just using that subwoofer cable, so we're good. So yeah, this sounds great. I turned up the WIM Mini, the high-res audio. I was listening to some Labby Cifre, and cranked it up, and man, that sounded fantastic, I have to say. And the CD sounded great too. I was really pleased with how good that was sounding. So yeah, so far so good. The only other, it's a very minor thing, and you probably can't really tell from looking at the video, but this is deeper, has a greater depth than the Sony by probably several inches, and this barely fits on here. It's sticking out maybe about half an inch from the edge. The feet are still on by close to an inch probably, so it's not that big of a deal. And I was like, man, okay, if I wanted to kind of line up, make it flush with this, I then would have to, I'd have to take all the records out of the cube, but it also means I have to take all the records out of the cube next to it. Otherwise, I'm going to have one cube unit further forward than the other. It's going to look kind of weird. So this is okay. It's not that big of a deal. This is so heavy that I don't think there's any danger of it tipping or anything. But it's just a little thing that it's just barely hanging over the edge by a tiny bit. I'd like it back by kind of half an inch to an inch if possible, but it won't go back any further because, of course, there's cables attached to, you know, plugged into the back. Just a minor thing to keep in mind. That, you know, I'll be perfectly honest, I checked the width of it before buying it. I didn't even think about the depth. Because the Sony had a little bit of room to spare, so I kind of figured, well, even if it was a bit more than that, no big deal, but it's quite a bit more than that. But just about got away with it. So, yeah, I think we're good. This does have a pure direct option here that will bypass any tone controls of bass treble that you're using on here. So even if you've got bass and treble set, right now they're just kind of at a neutral position, then it will bypass those, which is useful for recording especially. So if I wanted to record to tape or mini disc, or even maybe out to a laptop or something, well, you'd want to use pure direct normally. Otherwise, it's going to apply whatever tone controls you've got set to the recording, which means that if you then listen to it back and you're using the same tone controls, you're basically doubling, right, the bass, or doubling the treble. So normally you'd want to keep that neutral. But anyway, that's enough of my rambling. Very pleased with it so far. Obviously, I'll keep listening. But anyway, thank you as always for watching, everyone. Always appreciate everybody who comments and subscribes. And until next time, thanks again. Bye-bye.